IBO World Champion, La Bella Bestia, coming to you to show my appreciation for the ring IQ. So if you haven't already,
get guard, but
wow,
Howard,
look at the strength.
follow and subscribe Ring IQ and check out the relay where they cover today's top boxing news.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow! Okay, we'll start with this one. Marv Nation, that promotes the reigning IBF minimum weight champion Lopez, Valle, posted this via their Instagram account. It reads, Yoka Valle is ready for the big fights, and we want to unify the IBF female minimum weight title against Tina Rupprecht, WBC champion. Let's make this fight. To which Joe Cool Estrada, the father of Senicia Estrada, replied, what happened? She just called out Superbad. Now she's fighting someone else? Keep your word. No bigger fight for Yoka Valle than Superbad. Period. And, Joey's right. Just the other day, Yocasta Valle of Costa Rica was here stateside calling out Senicia Estrada by name. We talked about it here on the channel so that she could turn around a few days later, start...
They were already trying to do this fight.
They were trying to do this fight months ago, last year, and things didn't work out. They didn't materialize. The pandemic had its role to play.
This was going to be for the Ring Magazine title.
Months ago, and this was before Senicia Estrada became a champion in the minimum weight division by defeating Annabelle Ortiz. This was before Senicia picked up that belt. This was before all of that. Before Senicia picked up the WBA title at minimum weight. Before she moved up afterwards and picked up the WBO title at light flyweight. These two champions were supposed to lock horns, but things just went quiet for the fight. Some time passes, Senicia becomes a two-division champion. Yoka Valle comes here stateside just a few days ago, starts calling Senicia Estrada out so that
they can start promoting this again.
As a boxing fan, I'm all for unification matches whenever unification matches can happen, though the timing of this announcement, the timing of this campaign, I should say, as the fight, it hasn't been made yet.
It's not.
The timing is pretty impeccable.
Last week you're calling out Senicia Estrada.
So that this week you could start calling out Tina Rupprecht. I mean, if you're saying you'll take on all comers, if you're saying you're open to a fight with all the champions for all of the belts, that's one thing. But you went as far as making a graphic.
I don't want to nitpick.
I don't want to split hairs. I don't want to be that guy. But the timing of all of this, it just looks and feels a certain way. Senicia Estrada is the biggest name anywhere at or around these weights. Minimum weight, like flyweight or flyweight. She's the woman to beat. What Senicia also is the most dangerous fight for any fighter, any champion at or around these weights. And I don't know, I just kind of get the sense that maybe Yocasta Valle called Senicia Estrada out without any actual intention of seeing the fight get made. She called her out to use Senicia's buzz, Senicia's notoriety, because she's the only fighter at or around these weights that's with a major promoter, Golden Boy Promotions.
Your name dropped Senicia Estrada last week.
So that you could start campaigning for a Tina Rupprecht rematch this week.
I mean, I'm not against it.
I'm not against either fight. I'm not against any of these champions mixing it up with any other of these champions, but it all does look a certain way.
I'll tell you one thing. The Joshua who fought, baby? We saw the fight Joshua versus Usyk, which nobody saw in the U.S. Yeah, because what's that promoter that doesn't know has no clue what to do in the U.S.? I think his name is Hearn or something.
Oh, Thomas Hearn?
Yeah, Thomas Hearn. Thomas Hearn, stay in the UK, promote your fights. You have no clue what you're doing in the U.S. The Zone's doing the right thing by sticking with Golden Boy. Let's see. And first of all, what's that the Edward Hearn?
Is it Eddie Hearns?
Yeah. That guy should fucking promote in the UK. Stay away from the U.S. He does not know how to promote. He proved it with who did we see fight there?
Let me look. I'm not like...
Yeah. Who did he fight? Who's a heavyweight fought?
Eddie Hearns.
Yeah. A heavyweight fought tonight, babe. Oh, Usyk crowned himself world champion. And Eddie Hearn ruined Joshua's career, so yeah.
And what should Eddie Hearn have done? Protect Anthony Joshua from Oleksandr Usyk the way that you're protecting Ryan Gersha from Devin Haney? The vultures have started to circle Eddie Hearn now that he and his fighter, his golden boy, his prize stallion, Anthony Joshua, are in a weakened state.
Bob, you know Usyk's people very well, obviously, through your connections with Lomachenko. And, of course, you know Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua. So could you not put that option to them to say, if we beat Deontay Wilder, let's do this fight with Usyk, and then Joshua can have the winner?
Eddie Hearn being Eddie Hearn, who is all ego, won't listen to something that makes sense.
Bob Arum's taking jabs at Eddie and Anthony. So's Oscar De La Hoya.
Bob Arum, I understand a little better.
I don't agree with Bob, but I understand what's happening and why it's happening. Whereas with Oscar...
Why is he throwing shade at those guys?
Could it be because Canelo Alvarez left Golden Boy Promotions and immediately sought refuge over there at Matchroom?
Could it be because they said he's the best promoter in the world?
Could it be because Eddie Hearn is upstaging both Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya transatlantically, staging big shows in the United Kingdom and big shows here in the United States? Lest we forget, alongside Canelo Alvarez, Matchroom helped to break the indoor record for attendance with the Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders fight.
Stop me when I tell a lie.
These bitter American-based outfits, bitter American-based promoters, are the kind of promoters that'll cut off their nose to spite their face, and that's what they're doing now with Eddie Hearn.
It's not Eddie Hearn's fault that Canelo left you.
Your issues with Canelo Alvarez, the rift between you, that predates Canelo Alvarez crossing over to his side of things and being promoted by Matchroom for a time. Whatever issues caused Canelo Alvarez to leave Golden Boy Promotions, they ain't got a whole lot to do with Eddie Hearn.
But they do have a whole lot to do with you.
You who say that Eddie Hearn doesn't know how to promote here in America, yet the biggest draw in America, the biggest draw in American boxing, left your promotional outfit for his. So what's that say about you?
If he can't promote in the States and Canelo left you for him...
What does that say about you? How does that make you look and your ability to promote? Oh, I understand that Bob and Oscar, they might understand the American market a lot better than Eddie does, but that hasn't stopped Eddie from upstaging them transatlantically, staging bigger events than both on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. And while Anthony Joshua, his cash cow, his golden goose, might be in a vulnerable state...
Where's your cash cow, Oscar?
Bob's in no position to talk since he signed Tyson Fury. All Tyson Fury's done is cost him money.
Wilder vs. Fury 2 was a box office flop.
I've heard the sentiment expressed that Tyson Fury managed to do what Anthony Joshua didn't do. He made it in America. Are you sure? The only thing he's done since he got here is cost... What are ticket sales for the Tom Schwartz fight? What are ticket sales for the Otto Valine fight? I mean, look at the receipts. Wilder vs. Fury 2, biggest event you've staged for Tyson Fury so far, and all it did was lose money, and you better hope that the third one don't lose you more money.
It's a lot of red ink.
Professional rivalries and barbs traded aside, I don't think any American-based promoter is in any position to talk, in any position to tell some other promoter, some other region of the world how they should do their job when business isn't exactly booming here stateside, and it's on your watch. Say what you want about Anthony Joshua the fighter, but as far as the promotional outfit, the banner he fights under, well, they're doing shows all over the world, unlike Golden Boy Promotions, unlike Top Rank.
You guys have got one market you cater to.
Just one, and its audience is dwindling. This is all on your watch.
Numbers are at an all-time low.
They've never been lower. It's never been worse, to the point to where you got would-be pundits at USA Today making quips about Anthony Joshua being a choke artist, losing to some unknown guy. I mean, this is what passes for punditry these days in the American boxing scene. You got guys that ain't even familiar with the fighters covering the sport.
Boxing ain't mainstream anymore.
And a lot of that is due to the promoters. If boxing as a sport has been relegated to the background of other sports, it's not at the forefront anymore, there are some parties who are more responsible than others, but rest assured, these American-based outfits are in no position to talk.
Oscar De La Hoya is protecting Ryan.
And before that, he lost his golden goose in Canelo Alvarez. That's the bang-up job that Oscar was doing. And Bob, God bless him, he's got all this experience and all this wisdom and all this know-how, but you haven't exactly turned Tyson Fury into a big draw here, have you? I mean, since you got him, all he's done is cost you money. I'm just giving it to you straight. It's the only way I know how to give it to you. And these outfits, instead of taking time out of their day to take jabs at Eddie Hearn, they really ought to focus on promotion. They really ought to focus on promoting their fighters so that boxing returns to the forefront of the sporting world in this country.
Never mind that English guy.
Adam, Eddie spoke to Coogan yesterday and said that he felt like he wasn't very much interviewed during the week. He said he was interviewed, I think, once or twice during the week, and used to do hundreds on Sky before. Have you just got a comment on that?
What do you think he'll do hundreds on Sky now? I mean, let's be straight here, Umar. Right? Eddie worked with us for many years. Brilliant spokesman, brilliant promoter, fantastic time. He then decided to move to DAZN. He took his entire Matchroom stable, leaving us with not very much.
You'd have to be naive to think that there aren't hard feelings there between Adam Smith, the people at Sky Sports, and Mr. Eddie Hearn. Matchroom Boxing, they had a long-standing relationship that very recently ended.
There's going to be hard feelings.
There was all this speculation as to whether or not Anthony Joshua would continue to fight on the Sky Sports platform, or would he go all in with DAZN the way that Matchroom went all in with DAZN. We know that Anthony Joshua just signed a lifelong contract for the extent of his entire career with Matchroom. But as far as what platform he would be fighting on moving forward beyond the Usyk fight, we just didn't know. We didn't know if he'd continue to fight on Sky, which is a more well-known platform in the United Kingdom than the DAZN app, or would he go all in with DAZN? Him having lost that Usyk fight, that changes things in more ways than one. I mean, you have to wonder how committed Sky is now to keeping Anthony Joshua on board. What does it mean to them moving forward? But you also have to wonder how this affects the landscape. Because Anthony Joshua was Eddie Hearn's ace in the hole, the biggest draw in the UK boxing scene, if he can't recover from this, if he can't rebound, that evens the playing field for all the other game in town. Sky Sports, Boxer, Wasserman included.
It's not a secret they're building a stable.
And it's not a secret that 3 or 4 Matchroom alums have decided to migrate over to Sky, stay on Sky, I should say. When I heard that the people over there at Boxer and Sky decided to not only sign Savannah Marshall, but sign Clarissa Shields as well, my interpretation of that was an attempt to one-up Eddie Hearn, to deliver a fight that Matchroom did not deliver, for whatever reason.
I think they want to show up Eddie Hearn.
They sign all these fighters, they build this stable, they jump into bed with Top Rank.
And Wasserman.
A very competitive market with a lot of content was already in the forecast, but things could become that much more competitive for Matchroom if they don't got their golden goose anymore. They're racing the hole. Make no mistake, the rematch between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk will be a mammoth of a fight. There's going to be a lot of money all tied up with that. But depending on what happens in the fight, moving forward, if Anthony Joshua loses...
Well, there goes Matchroom's ace in the hole.
There could very well be a power shift. Listen, fighters rise and fighters fall. It's just the nature of the business.
But if they ain't got that guy to move units anymore...
Nobody, and I mean nobody, moves units in the United Kingdom the way that Anthony Joshua moves units in the United Kingdom. And if he can't rebound, if he can't reclaim his seat on that heavyweight throne, it doesn't just affect him and it doesn't just affect Matchroom. It completely changes the landscape. It becomes that much more competitive.
Sky ain't got to worry about competing with an AJ fight.
Matchroom doesn't have the name of Anthony Joshua to use as leverage against their competitors if he can't rebound.
Yeah, there could be a power shift.
When Adam Smith sat down for that interview with Umar of IFL TV, and he imparted the words he imparted.
I heard a little bit of resentment in his tone.
And given the nature of what happened, I expect that, I do. This past weekend's fight was supposed to be Anthony Joshua's last fight under his Sky Sports contract.
I'm sure ahead of this fight they wanted to stay in the Anthony Joshua business.
I'm sure that they were prepared to make handsome offers to Anthony Joshua in order to do so. But now that he's coming off a loss, now that he's suffered his second professional defeat, what does staying in the Anthony Joshua business mean to them now? Finally, a continuation on a story we've talked about here on the channel several times already. The continued clusterfuck that is Lopez versus Kambosos. Apparently, George Kambosos Jr. wants six-figure purse increase to move Teofimo Lopez fight to October the 16th. This saga really is the gift that keeps on giving for content-hungry writers. Late last week, Teofimo Lopez signed off on Triller's plan to move his mandatory title fight with George Kambosos Jr. from October the 4th at the Hulu Theater to October the 16th at the Barclays Center. However, 2 days later, Fight TV officially listed the date as the 16th, while Madison Square Garden pulled the event from its schedule. It seems they may have jumped the gun. However, as Sports Illustrated's Chris Mannix reports, that Kambosos is pushing for a 6-figure increase in his purse in return for agreeing to the move. To make things extra funny, Kambosos is managed by former Triller executive Peter Kahn. That's the Peter Kahn that very recently parted ways with Triller.
And I'm guessing it wasn't amicably.
Per a tweet from Mike Coppinger, Ryan Kavanaugh tells ESPN that George Kambosos hasn't agreed to change the date from October 4th to the 16th. We're getting to the point where the rights to the fight could revert to Eddie Hearn. Triller needs to sign off from Kambosos or it could default with the IBF. Essentially, it would go to the second highest bidder, the second highest bidder being Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, because they placed the second highest bid, which was a little over $3 million. At which point, the people over there at Matchroom have the option of doing the fight on their platform at their price or letting the fight go to Top Rank. And, the fight going to DAZN or Top Rank, Triller defaulting, that really wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. The fight would become less expensive for me and you, the boxing fans. We'd either see it as part of our DAZN subscriptions or we'd see it on ESPN. But either way, it wouldn't be a pay-per-view.
The fighters would end up making less money, though.
A lot less, since there's no longer $6 million in the pot. Matchroom gets the fight. It's a little over $3 million in the pot, making this a massive waste of both Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos' time.
You think Peter Kahn's making things difficult on pipers?
I most certainly do. It's not a coincidence that he very recently parted ways with Triller, though at the same time manages the career of George Kambosos Jr., who is essentially preventing this fight from moving forward to that October 16th date. It's not a coincidence. It's deliberate.
They're holding the fight for ransom.
And this could be Peter Kahn's way of really sticking it to Triller, though in some ways he might be doing them a favor. Because if the fight does go through on October the 16th, Triller then has to try and generate $6 million from it. And I've been telling you guys, this ain't no $6 million fight.
Defaulting might be better for Triller.
It might be. They clearly can't handle this situation. Oh, they'd lose their $1 million deposit, or a little over $1 million that they deposited, from the purse bid, all that stuff. But, for losing that million, you might actually lose more than that trying to stage this thing. So maybe defaulting is what's best for them.
That $1 million deposit will go to the fighters.
On top of whatever Matchroom or Top Rank have in the pot for them.
But it won't be a $6 million fight.
No, it's near. Making all of this just one big fucking massive waste of time.
Especially if the fight ends up on ESPN anyway.
You lose a year, maybe you garner some hard feelings, almost burn some bridges. Also that the fight could end up on ESPN anyway.
Things were a lot more simple when Loma had those belts.
They were. The lightweight division seemed a lot more vibrant when Vasil Lomachenko had the run of the place, and look at where we are.
Takes a year and a day to make Lopez versus Kambosos Jr.
We'll see where this goes.